Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. As we get to the end of 1 Samuel and we read about Saul committing suicide by falling on his sword, it gives us time to reflect on really what the end result is of a self-centered life. As we've gone through and we've read the story of Saul, we've seen him become more and more self-centered, more and more consumed with holding on to his kingdom and really just looking out for himself. And it ends up with him being surrounded by the Philistines and committing suicide. And this brings out a very important point. It shows us that the self-centered life often leads to self-destruction. There's an irony there that a person who lives a self-centered life typically ends up in self-destruction, which we would think perhaps the opposite would be true. A person who is self-centered would do everything that they could do, everything in their power to keep from destroying themselves, because they would want themselves to succeed and to flourish and to live long. But we find a principle in life that is very much an irony. As we look at people who are absorbed with themselves and who are only concerned with themselves, in most cases, they end up destroying themselves. They end up overindulging in things. They're so concerned with their own comfort and fulfilling their own desires that they become compulsive. They become oftentimes very much full of anxiety and fear because they're afraid that they're going to lose whatever they have, or they're afraid that they won't gain what they hope to gain. And they really live a pretty miserable life. And they typically overdose, overindulge, and overdo it. And that leads to self-destruction. And so the irony in life is that when a person is self-centered, they're usually on a path to self-destruction. However, we also find in life that those who are not self-centered, those who are focused on others and serving others, those who are selfless and not selfish, typically live a more healthy, a more vibrant, and a more lengthy life, because they're not so concerned about themselves. They're not absorbed with their own comforts, their own desires. They're not anxious about achieving a lot of things or trying to prove themselves. They're just out serving others. And the more and more that they are focused on others, the less time they have to focus on themselves. And that usually leads to less anxieties, less fear, less compulsiveness, less indulgences, and things along those lines. And so the story of Saul ought to be a warning to us that however far down the path of being self-centered we are, perhaps we should check ourselves and kind of do some introspection and say, you know what, how much am I living for self? How much is my life really about me? And how much is it about serving others? If we take it to the extreme and we continue down the path of being self-centered, self-focused, and selfish, it could lead down a path of destruction. But if we live a life where we love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and our neighbor as ourselves, it will lead us into a more fruitful life, a more pleasant life, and a more happier life before God. And so let's be encouraged today to not be like Saul, but to give ourselves over to serving others, loving God above all else, and giving our lives over to Christ, to do what Christ said, in that he said, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. And he says that he who will lose his life shall find it. And we definitely see that, of course, in light of eternal life, but also even in this temporary life as well. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we do our readings today. With that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.